Okay, so
Chicken one.
Henaine. Henein. Is that a better?
Hen, chicken, ein. One in German. Chicken one.
I think this is.
Don't make it harder.
See it.
Honey
We're-
colony.
Hey, Alex. We're obviously this. I'm not gonna compete with James O'Keefe's Broadway spectacular.
Pretty loud.
Pretty loud.
This is not like kudos. This is probably dancing. It's very swagger.
Well, if you were here at 5 o'clock,
I'm sorry, they were having
Let
lunch.
me look, because this is obviously a rehearsal, so let me just look and see what's going on.
That's impressive.
we're live though. We're live on that one.
Right.
See how loud it is?
Okay, so today is October 9th? Is it 9th? So is it realistic to say the 15th? Because what I'd like, Roger, is for you and Doug to sync so that
To
it's
sing? Is James
sync.
O'Keefe?
No, sync.
Tell them to just keep it down.
I said, please.
Please.
We're trying to record back here.
Yeah. It is a rehearsal. I think they probably will do another song, but we could try.
Well, they're also recording it on their channel, so it's they don't really want to do an interview. I don't want to have an interview where I'm competing with James
There was
O'Keefe's
noise
operatic.
before, but not like that.
No, this is
That was really loud.
okay. So how about October?
Well, because we got a quiet moment,
Yeah.
okay, why do we have Miriam on camera right now on our channel? So before the noise starts, let's
Okay.
get
Where
that.
am I looking? You
Anyway, right there.
Right in this area.
look everywhere. Okay.
You look at your cameras. We got like all kinds of
I'll
cameras.
start us off. So, Doug Wade here with Pure Social TV, and I have Maryam Henein with us. And she is very much involved right now with the documentary that she's working on. It's one of those stories for me that sort of got, it was very heightened for a while. And then it just got quiet. Nobody talks about it. It was like it was all the buzz, right? All the BLM, all the stuff that was going on. It took over the entire world, actually. You saw people protesting in other countries. So it made a lot of news. And now all of a sudden, nothing. Because we've talked about it, we've had the trials, right? We've had all the things that have happened. Yeah. So I'm thankful that you're actually working on that story because it's an important story that we need to understand. And some of the details that I think got missed, obviously from a media standpoint, I think they went through a lot of that probably through the trials, but it just didn't kind of roll down to the public. So it's good to know what actually happened. Tell us a little bit more about the film, what you're doing with the documentary, maybe some timing around that as well.
Sure. So I would argue that the book and short film that I'm putting together would make a better defense than Eric Nelson did on behalf of Derek Chauvin. I would also say that anyone that was actually paying attention to the trial, Tim Cruise, one of them, but I listened to every single day of the trial. So I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and then write 2,000 word pieces every single day. And here we go, James. And so there are still things coming out every day from Minneapolis support system. However, it's in preparation for the next 3 officers, which will be exactly a year after Derek was tried. And what they're doing in the current is that James O'Keefe, I'm trying to do an interview here.
You've been O'Keefed. Let's see how loud it is. If it's really loud. The problem is they're facing that way too. The mics.
That was just practice.
Where were we? We were at CPAC and there was an after party and James went to a line dancing place.
Oh, did he?
So we were I was excited because he's been dancing and I'm a dancer, but I don't know line dancing. But it was all practice. He was practicing different types of moves.
I think we're good. I mean, it's really bad, but as long as you face the mic, I think we'll be better.
Should I hold it?
No, don't hold it. It'll be. So,
Competing with James O'Keefe. Alright, so where was I? Basically, now they're trying to remove the cameras from the events, which is interesting for the part 2. So, the media, the objective, I'm writing a book, and the book is basically the religious account, and this short film is to accentuate a certain part of the chapter where I'm laying out what happened from 7:30 to 9:30, giving details, for instance, maybe Roger knows this, or did you know that Derek Chauvin actually showed up at the hospital?
Did he? Afterwards?
Yes, as any racist does.
Right, yeah. I didn't even know that detail.
So I'm all about the detail because that's where the devil lies, and it's like, why are you so obsessed with this case? I don't know. I didn't mean to be obsessed with this case, but it's a fascinating case, and once you really go down the rabbit hole, and I guess my main gripe as a journalist is the descent into hell of my profession, where it's prostitutes and parrots, and I say that when I was growing up, like I wanted to work for Dateline or 60 Minutes, and the media, at least on the surface, because fake news is old news in a way, it's happy hour journalism, but there was still a movement to do cutting edge uncovering corruption, and now they are complicit in the cover-up. So that's the main thing, to show why did anything that didn't fit this black versus white narrative was cut out.
Well,
Yeah.
you would think that, I guess, the media anymore, you're in media, I'm in media. I can imagine working for some of these big, broadcast type networks like this, that it's almost like you would have to sell your soul to even be employed there. It's like, forget all that you saw, here's what you're going to say, here's what you're going to do. It's like,
I'd like to
what about journalism?
I'd like to
Where did that go?
give us an example of it. So I was working for Channel 4 and NBC, above from Jay Leno at the time, and there was one story, and I was one of the first to cover the news for the website. And at that time, they thought that if people logged on, they wouldn't tune in. So in fact, the news department wasn't in charge of us, it was the advertising. And I was like, that's a bit weird. And it was during the sweeps when all the networks compete with one another. And I was watching the feed from the chopper. and there was this man on one freeway. He was in a Jeep with his cat and his dog, and he had AIDS. And this is during the hype with HMOs, or HMOs were coming to the surface of what they are. And he unfurled the banner and proceeded to first, what did he first do? He tried to set himself on fire with a Molotov cocktail. And then he got out of the car and threw a backpack, which ended up having a VHS tape, over the side. And I think he looked and considered committing suicide that way. And now the chopper's still on him. And he takes a rifle and he blows up his brains on TV. So the chopper pulls back too late, and the news station is flooded. And all of a sudden, we have to put up a disclaimer if you've been psychologically damaged. Here's a hotline, and nobody at that moment or thereafter cared about what was on that VHS tape. Why did this guy kill himself? So that day, I'm driving, and now keep in mind I'm newly graduated. I'm about 24, and I'm Canadian, and I'm appalled at the chases, the way they cover the news. It's different from the way I was taught in Montreal, Canada. It's very worldly. And so I'm driving, and Tom Michaels is on. Do you know Tom Michaels? Talk radio. He's obnoxious radio. So I call in the radio station, and I say, this is what happened. We were told to take down the story. We had to give a disclaimer for psychological blah, blah, blah. So, okay, long story short, I give my opinion, my take. The next day, someone takes me aside, big wig, and I had only said hi, bye. He didn't know me. And he takes me aside and he said, were you in the radio yesterday? And I said, yeah. And he said, you know, you could get fired if I tell the manager of the station. Anyway, shortly thereafter I quit. I was disgusted by the chases, by the just sensationalist media. And fast forward to watching how, for instance, April Moss, who came out with Project Veritas and Pointing she told me that a few days later after George Floyd died, they get a memo saying that they all have to back up George Floyd and BLM, and that her as a journalist thought like, we didn't even do an investigation. What's the deal with that? So yeah, you would think, how do these people sleep at night? We need more journalists with a backbone.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a desire for the truth again, because there's so many things that are being used to create these narratives, just on simple images or events or things like that are being used to, these like planned out campaigns, right? That are trying to sway people's opinions or help destroy America. Or destroy America.
Okay, manufacture racial war. I did an interview with a man, Ed Cherini, and he, when he was young, was a graphic designer, and he was commissioned to do the graphics or illustration for the book that ended up being on JFK. I forget the author's name, maybe one of the names, but it was sold to Oliver Stone to turn into the film, and then later on, when he was an adult, there was a shooting, and I think it was in Arizona. It wasn't a school shooting, but something about it was like, this is fishy. So he actually goes there and he snoops around, and during that time, a 45-page document from Homeland Security is leaked to him, and it's about an upcoming drill at a school, and he questions, is this real? So he goes on air and he shares it. Someone from the school hears about this and calls and says, is it true to Homeland Security you were going to do a drill? And they ended up canceling the drill. But in this document, it talks about, basically it's a playbook for all the school shootings. And we know the repercussions of saying anything to do with that it's fake, blah, blah, blah. That's not my area of expertise, but certainly after interviewing, it was fascinating. He said these false flags, they practiced for a year, and they also said that they use Homeland Security, they use the same crisis actors that we've seen over and over. So when we say like they practiced for a year, well, isn't it strange that almost exactly to the year in May, George Floyd is arrested, does the same mama stop, is caught with 274 oxy pills, which I now know are from the Mexican cartel, and is probably a low-level drug dealer, definitely a drug user. And I interviewed another detective, a police officer that's Mexican, that said it's called boosting. So in order to keep their own supply going, they have a small amount and they're selling it to people. So exactly a year to the T. He's doing the exact crap. He doesn't have his ID. Almost has he swallows pills. Almost has an overdose. And so that fits criteria of that. And certainly there's lots of things that have been hidden. And I would argue, if you really care about Black lives, why isn't anyone looking at counterfeit pills, counterfeit money, where it comes from, but more so, there's counterfeit drugs.
Yeah, I was always kind of intrigued by the whole sort of shutdown that happened during COVID. And people were like, there's no movies being produced, right? Hollywood's pretty much shut down. They're not gathering on sets, they're not producing films. And they're like inactive. And I was talking to myself, they're not really inactive. They've just moved to the street and turned it under the guise of news. And they're probably still getting paid.
Yeah, I feel
pretty
that.
nicely,
So one of the things that I found, having worked with Miriam in the last few months, is the dedication she is to this cause, and she's like, I'm going, and it's not, and by dedication, what I mean is that she's like, listen, I have to go get the resource to find out the truth, and I'm not, and that's what she's doing. She's like, yes, I got this, I obtained this legally, and and this is now a clip that we're using, and it's just been phenomenal. And she, I don't know, we got together, I forget how we met. Adrian. Okay, yeah.
Adrian.
Yeah. Yo, Adrian. You can't win, Rocky. But she had sent me videos that she had of the body cams, and so what I did was I put them all together because she wanted, you had all these clips, but you watch them and you watch it, but you don't get the sense of what it all means. So I don't know, it took me 6 hours to try to get them 3 videos linked up because the timer is up in the clock, because of the body cams, and getting them linked up, and then when you watch it, and I hate her for this because every time I start watching it, I have to watch all almost 40 minutes worth of these. And it's like, so I don't watch it anymore because I wait. It's like, whoa, and you just sit there and you're like, wow. I mean, so the videos start from when the police show up to go to Cup Foods. They go into the store.
It starts before when they're loitering in Cup Foods.
Right. There's scenes there, right. But the series for the ones I made start when they're pulling up to Cup Food, okay, and you have there's 4 quadrants I have, and 3 of them get filled for the body cam, and then it goes through, and you get to see the entire thing. You see what each cop is doing, and you see you see what happens, and when you see this, the first time when it came together and I watched it the first time. I mean, I'm on some of the cameras, but not all. But what I'm doing is I'm sitting back in my chair, and I just sat down, and I took a deep breath in, and I took a deep breath out, and I went, wow. I mean, I just, she made me do this, and I did this, and when I finally put it together, it was just like, whoa, it's like, holy, she's right,
That's not how it was presented.
Not a lot of people, huh?
That's the thing. It's not how it was presented. So.
And when you release a certain part of the footage, which is Darnella, she won a Pulitzer Prize for her journalism, I'm a little bitter about that.
Sure.
She gets a Pulitzer Prize. She raises $700,000 while I'm on food stamps and I'm being digitally assassinated. So when you see, just psychologically, when you see a certain part of footage, now it's cemented. You've already created a conclusion, and it's also playing on your emotions because there is racism, there is police brutality. And then Keith Ellison sits on the footage for almost 3 months and it ends up getting leaked. But the media was fighting to release this footage. And now it's all out of order. People have already drawn their conclusions and it's too late. But what happens when you take all of these pieces that were left on the cutting room floor? And more importantly, I'm obsessed with what was being said. What's being said? If you have his friends on camera saying, "Stop resisting, George,"
Right.
that's resisting. You're fucking resisting.
Yeah, they saw it too. It was obvious.
They saw it, and then at the end, Charles McMillan, he's the black man with the white glasses. He comes across to tell Shawanda, because the park police officer is basically babysitting Shawanda and Maurice. So he comes up and he says, Shawanda's like, "What happened?" And he says, "He fucked up." And Shawanda goes, "They fucked him up?" And he says, "No, he fucked up. He fucked up." Who are we talking about? Not Derek. We're talking about George. So George effed up. And so why isn't the defense, why isn't Eric Nelson showing this stuff if he cares about his client? Unless, just like the Trayvon Martin hoax, where we know that Benjamin Crump is a shyster ambulance chaser parading as a civil liberty lawyer caring about black lives, committed witness fraud by putting his star witness as a completely different person, which is the half sister. That means the parents are in on it, he's in on it, the prosecution is in on it, everybody's in on it. And then she goes on her TV and she does her rounds and this sister becomes famous.
How do we go from bees to George Floyd? How do you, with this whole thing,
Well, I'd like to say that after making my film, I really want to finish a book. That's my dream. I never said I want to make a documentary. I'm very happy that I birthed this movie. I remember at the premiere, going on stage and going, "It's a bee!"
And the music starts. Cue the music.
Because I felt like I birthed this movie, right? And it's real quick that I was waiting for something to really really capture my interest, and I never thought it would be George Floyd. And Zach is the one that brought me into it, because we were in Costa Rica, and he's like, "Mimi, can you come and choke me?" And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Can we do the George Floyd?" And I'm like, "Who's George Floyd? Is anyone ever going to ask that question ever again?" No. Because in Kenya, like you said, all over the world.
So the timeline. So we got the trailer, correct? So I think, what are we gonna do? Let's look. So we're here on the 9th. You want to try for the 20th? Or is that too far out?
Let's close out the interview.
Well, no, I want to broadcast right now saying, hey, we're gonna premiere our trailer on this day.
It's your channels,
Well,
so you decide. Obviously, the sooner the better. In that, I like to say that currently I'm recreating the 911 call. So just know fact that in Minnesota, the only way to get a 911 call is if the person who made it releases it. So during the trial, we have the 911 call of Donald Williams. Do you know who that is? The black guy who's saying, "You're a bum, bro. You're a bum. You're a bum, bro."
right.
Over and over again. And then we have Genevieve, who is a firefighter who conveniently was there that day. So, but the 911 call, there's a reason why it wasn't released. There's a cover up there. So I'm recreating the call, and with a novel graphic design look. And I'm hoping by that, if you're picking the 20th, if that's the soonest, that we'll have a rough run.
All right, so let's come back online. We'll broadcast. This will give us a week. It'll give us a week to market it a little bit.
So what date are you?
Wednesday the 20th?
The 20th or 13th?
The 20th.
20th.
Yeah. And then, but the key thing is, when do you think you're gonna get the movie out? When you shoot?
Well, I want to see. I'm working with Scott from Zilla, and I want to raise money because everything's out of my pocket. Like just even making these USB, paying for all the port footage, etc. And I'd like to pay Roger, Scott, and I'd like to find maybe even another editor. So, I mean, I do have Bill Maher that has told me to show me. I've been keeping in touch with Bill Maher. I think he's ready to yes, and so, and I have others that I've given it to. So, I am hoping in the next month and a half, realistically, that I'll have something finished. What I'm ending up doing is I don't want to bore people. So a lot of the surveillance footage, I'm doing it at 1.25 fast, and then I'm going to slow down when I want to show. I'm going to show, like for instance, Maurice Westerhall is attempts to buy an iPad that that's called the police on Maurice. Why? Maurice tried to buy cigarettes before George with his hella fake claim. Why didn't the police call? Why did he come for all these three guys? Why only George? So mistakes are
But you didn't answer the question. When are you shooting to release the movie? No, it's gonna be longer than that, right? No, this is a trailer in 2 weeks. But when?
No, the movie I hope like is 6 weeks from now.
Oh, well, that's okay.
I mean, I have till the trial, till March 2022, which is when it's going to come back into circulation. And I mean, I have to consider whether to release the movie then or beforehand, and it really depends. Like, I think you'd agree, Roger, to get some type of distribution. So, I gave a USB to Jack Masovic, I gave one to Roger Stone, I gave one to Dr. Ali, his wife, and I just want to see who is genuinely interested, because I've been told, I was told, change your name. I'm not going to change my name, it's not my style. I'm trying to get my movie out there. I'm already hidden enough. But the point is that BLM is going to be lawsuits. I've been told there's going to be lawsuits. I just want to say one more thing, that I got debanked by Chase. Mr. X, I call him Mr. X, he leaks info to me. I was reading an archive on Twitter. He told me, did you look to see the link between Chase and BLM? Chase, JP Morgan, the Vanguard Rothschild invested $30 billion to eradicate racism in Bangkok. So when I called them and I recorded them and I said, why did you cancel me? We don't have to give reason. How about this $30 billion? Last I checked, I'm brown and I'm a business owner. Why are you canceling me? Why are you canceling me, Chase?
I think you should change. I think you should change your name because it's too hard to spell. Who spells their name with like that? That's Maryam.
It's actually, this is the original Aramaic spelling.
Okay.
And when I was born, the cord was around my neck and my heartbeat stopped twice. And my dad went to St. Joseph's Oratory, which is in Montreal, in the dead of winter, and climbed 200 steps and said if I was born a female, he would name me after the Virgin Mary.
Okay.
Maryam.
Miriam. I don't like the spelling. I've made it Miriam or Mimi. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Wait. Honeycolony.com.
Please find me. I just got killed for saying that graphene oxide is the secret sauce. I've been covering the Rona before you even knew about it, because I'm in the future. And it's the truth.
Honey
And so you
Colony,
can
right?
find me, well, buzz on over to Honey Colony. I got debanked for selling vitamins and truth. And you can find me on Gab. I'm Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. That was great. Despite the O'Keefe.
Background sound.
Yeah. Thank you, Roger.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Thank you.
I told you, Tanya is right there. She said, I told you this already. She's like, how long do you know Roger? Because you guys like act like we've known each other for years. Yeah, some people just connect. Thank you.
Thank you.
When are you putting this out?
Whenever I get
Oh, you have to package it, yeah?